correctly with the correct amount.
D20 Radio, where gamers roll.
www.d20radio.com.
Welcome to Me and Steve Talk RPG, the podcast where me and my friend Steve...
We're playing games this time.
Now we're recording.
Perfect. So, we find ourselves looking at a scene floating up in the sky, as if a bird looking down on a barren plot of land. There's no civilization, no lights, just nature running its course. When you see a portal open and a human-like figure step through, it looks around, holds up some weird device, and begins pacing out a square, nodding to themselves every now and then, moving the device in weird ways, until they finally settle on the center of the square, put down a marker, and then go back through their portal. And we see a time lapse begin of people coming through this portal and beginning to construct first a tiny little shack and then progressively a bigger and bigger inn. And once it's finished, you see comings and goings, but shadows of things, never really seeing exactly what the entities are. Until finally a town starts popping up around the inn as we continue in this time-lapse kind of perspective. And you start hearing a narration laying over the slow buildup of this town. A town that you know very well. A town that goes by Progress Junction. But not all who wander are lost, but they do seem to end up at the junction. You never know what manner of human, beast, or, well, who knows what some of those other things are that phase into town. They just pop over to our little neck of the woods, seeking respite at the Junction Tavern, run by the Masons, and some people who call themselves the Greater Good Society. They protect the travelers from the townies, and when the travelers weren't too kind to the locals, well, that's when they stepped in and protected the locals from them as well. That was until things went tits up. The Masons disappeared, their tavern, the Junction's anchor, went dormant, so anything was able to just waltz into town whenever it felt like, unrestrained, doing whatever it pleases, left with only the remnants of the greater good, struggling to safeguard Progress Junction. Suddenly, the camera that's been floating up in the sky as the town is now settled into a modern picture of it. Railways coming through, see a big compound with the emblem Wayne Enterprises across a water tower, standing guard over their railroad junction and exchange. Moderately large town now exists around what used to just be a barren landscape. The camera suddenly plunges down through the chimney of the tavern, emerging from it, looking at the scene of the tavern's main room. We see people eating, drinking, hanging out together as they clearly are spending a normal night in this rather up-and-coming location. We find our crew here. Eric, where do we find Oaken in this tavern space?
Oaken is at the bar, kind of right in the middle of it. I'm imagining this is one of those bars that has a mirror behind it.
Hell yeah, it does.
So he's looking at the bartender, but really looking through the bartender at the mirror to get a surveillance of the rest of the bar.
And this isn't a normal mirror. This has got some weird properties to it. But they're not fully functioning, for this tavern has slumbered. You, not being human, probably are aware of its secrets more than others, but even it was dormant before you arrived. What is it that you can see within this mirror that others do not?
I see good and evil.
Perfect.
So the shows up kind of as an aura.
Hmm.
And little darker on some, a little lighter on others.
Yeah, so as you look around the bar, I feel like you probably have some drinking companions with you, kind of all swapping battle stories. You see often there's a weird aura around the Wayne Enterprise employee, and then a mixture of those of the locals. And every now and then there's a traveler who just has a weird, let's just say non-typical aura as well. Perfect. So the camera slides off Oaken, who I see is kind of like lounging against the bar, mug in hand, sharing stories with maybe even the sheriff of the town. And next the camera lands on Marcus
Gustafson.
Why don't you say the name for us?
Marcus Gustafson.
Yes, that one.
So I think Marcus is not particularly tall, but, maybe just about 6 foot. Probably kind of a slight build. A little bit older, probably late 50s. So definitely going kind of gray and beard probably going white. Probably wearing like a little bowler hat.
Hell yeah.
Kind of like not somewhere between like detective / cowboy kind of garb, sort of, like kind of like a long jacket, but probably a little bit dusterish,
Ooh, yep.
But not full like cowboy duster.
Sure.
More like it will do that job, but that's not, it's more just a long coat that's been modified.
I'm kind of like
a
London foggy type coat, but made from like more of like a leathery type material.
Right,
like
leather or a heavy canvas.
Classier, but still very functional. Well, and you mentioned that it was modified. So Marcus is known for their, let's say, gadgeteers or invention.
Right.
What is the current invention that doesn't quite work that Marcus is showing off to some of his local kind of mechanics and people in the tavern room?
So I think he's got 2 projects going, but the one he's showing off, I think, is this sort of device to help latch train couplings, to make sure that like it's like a safety catch for train couplings to keep them latched better, because there's been problems on certain lines with trains coming unlatched, or maybe it's bandits. So a more tamper-proof coupler for train cars, and he's got like a scale model of it that he's showing off. But
cool.
The thing that he's working on that no one knows about is a sensor system for the tavern for travelers.
Love it. So I think this coupler actually has the ability to kind of like shoot out and grab and then like pull things together. So it's almost like this like stronger, almost like grapple system.
Yeah, actually I like that even better. Like it's almost like a safety thing that is put on in case the regular one latches, but it stays hidden.
Yeah.
I like that even better.
And I think I think that you're also kind of like tinkering a little bit with, and I think it's probably the bar itself is kind of the anchor for some of these energies that you're playing with.
Yeah, I think like I've got this thing set up on the wall that's like a miniature of one end of a train car, and I've got like a scale train car that I'm
100%. Are you and Oaken kind of like interacting around these things, or are you guys kind of apart from each other?
Well, it sounded like Oaken was more in the center of the bar, where I'm kind of down to one end. I mean, I feel like we do know each other fairly well, but Oaken is probably also at this point going, oh yeah, he's got the thing again, and he's talking about widgets and left-handed this and that, and yeah.
Got it. Cool. Nice. And then the camera moves to find our final member of the night of the Greater Good Society. We find Miles. Where in this tavern space?
Everybody knows the left-handed are possessed by Satan, so that's just gonna say that.
Okay.
So Miles is over He's in a booth with a glass of wine, but I'm in a booth where Oaken can easily see me and keep tabs.
Cool. And how does Miles has some innate powers are not necessarily accepted within this community? How is he interacting with the locals? What is kind of his role in this place?
We discussed the other night that I am making wine and cheese for the bar and things like that. I'm the brewer of Sneaky Pete.
The recording that wasn't there for the other night. That's what I was prompting you. Yeah, so I think we see Miles has kind of got like a little, almost like chemistry set out on this table, and has like a glass of wine, but more has like the ingredients of wine, is like tasting them and like mixing them and doing like almost like little concoction type things while still being a part of the socialization of the space. Perfect. The night is a warm one. The smell of that desert air wafts through. All the windows are open, so it's this nice breeze. There's someone playing music. What type of music is in this tavern space? Fiddle, piano. What kind of theme of music are we listening to?
I feel like it's somewhere like a hybrid between honky tonk and early jazz.
Cool. So I'm seeing some kind of like pipe thing with maybe like a little guitar or something like that. And I agree, it's like this jazzy kind of like Western country kind of theme. And it's really background. It's not that annoying. You're at a bar and you're like, what'd you say? I can't hear you over the song. It's like very well done, and it's almost like blending into the energies of this space. Food and drinks are moving, just freely throughout this room. And it's really creating this great ambiance, and everyone's kind of settling in and just having a great time. We see Marcus showing off this invention and some of the other, and he probably has the biggest like grouping of Wayne Enterprise people, because that's where like all the nerdy mechanics are like hanging out and be like, hey, look at this new thing we got like from the big city, and so you guys are all like sharing and nerding out. And I feel like Oaken is probably with some of the other more like thuggy like security guys and some of the local sheriffs, and they're all like swapping stories and maybe some arm wrestling or something. And we see Miles just kind of hanging in the back, just keeping an eye on like what alcohols are being drank, really kind of like paying attention to like what people are liking, constantly making notes to adjust. When suddenly, bam, the front doors fly open and a woman staggers in. She looks almost dead, blood dripping down all parts of her. As she staggers into the room, you can just make out the Wayne Enterprise uniform saturated in blood and guts. It's almost like the tavern goes still. No one makes any noise. No one moves. Caught so off guard by this. Staggering into the room, leaving a trail of blood behind her. She slowly crumples down to her knees and then drops dead to the floor.
Oaken goes over, takes a look at her, and kind of tries to assess where she's going to end up.
Ooh. Are you doing this through the mirror, or are you doing this like...
Yeah, I'm looking at the mirror first before I go over to her. So I'm going to stand up, kind of gaze at her through the mirror, and then go actually gaze upon her.
Hell yeah. Why don't you give me a roll?
Okay. Remind me how we roll in this game.
2d6.
And I am using Sharp, I assume, to investigate a mystery.
I forget the moves, and I am currently trying to find that cheat sheet that
It's
Steve
called
was
the
talking
Hunter
about.
reference sheet.
Where would I find that?
Hang on, I'll just upload it to out of game chat.
Oh, here it is. There's a reference sheet.
Yeah, that's okay. Never mind.
Perfect. Okay. So I would say that it sounds like you're trying to collect information. So I'm going to say that this is investigate a mystery.
Okay. That's a total of 3 minus 1. So 2.
Yeah. as you try to look in the mirror, it's almost like something is obscuring this individual, and it's almost like there's no one there. You see just kind of the blood, but you can't make out any details of this thing.
I am not sure that I've ever seen anything like this before. So like I said, I'm going over, and
Suddenly the room is just a buzz. Everyone's like, oh, that's Sheila. Sheila's dead? What's going on? And you see a lot of the Wayne kind of bruisers are kind of muscling up. You see a lot of the engineers kind of start like backing off afraid.
I am going to go back over to the Wayne because I can't tell what's going on with her. Maybe there's somebody else that can. So I'm going to try to go over to them and be like, look, we'll figure this out. We'll figure out who did this and go from there, and then see what we need to do to take care of that situation.
It was probably one of the locals. You know there's been tension between us, but they've gone too far this time.
This attitude's not helping that, but I understand.
You know there's been conflict. You know what they've been doing to our people.
I do. And like I said, we'll figure this out and handle it how it needs to be handled.
What is your rapport with these people? Are you trustworthy to them?
Yes, I've tried to ingratiate myself to both sides of this conflict and not take a side while doing it.
So like a mediator.
Yeah.
All right, Oaken. We'll give you time to do this, but know that if anything else is happening, we will have to respond with force. We can only let them push us around so much.
I understand you must do what you must, but please allow me the time to figure this out.
We have to go report to the foreman. We'll leave 2 of us here just to look after our friend's body. I'm going to take the rest of the Wayne people with us.
I assure you nothing will happen to the corpse until you return.
Her body.
Sure. Yes, her body.
Please be respectful. She was my friend. If I find out anything, I will pass it on to you as well.
My apologies. I'm not from here, so sometimes niceties escape me.
You kind of see him deflate just a little bit and nod. We've just shared so many drinks at this point. It's easy to forget that you are not familiar with our ways. I apologize. It's been stressful times. I'm gonna take my people to prevent further issue, but please do what you can, and I will pass on any information I might become aware of. And with that, he lets out a shrill whistle, and the remaining Wayne Enterprise employees start moving with him out the door, leaving behind 2 of his more sensible security agents there with you.
So I think at this point, Marcus, having just lost his conversation, kind of looks around, kind of almost startled at even, you had the silence, but I feel like the nerds in the corner were still nerding. It kind of comes over. Well, what have we here?
A dead girl.
So you were describing this, Ben, as she's blood covered. Does it appear to be her own blood? Do you want me? I don't want to just roll investigate again unless that's... But, is it appear to be her own blood? Does she have obvious wounds?
Obvious wounds. So you can see where I described blood and gore. So you actually see some of stuff coming out of her. And there's punctures through her uniform that looks like a stabbing type wound. And some of the blood looks like it might not be hers, but in order to get more of that kind of detailed information will require some kind of roll.
I mean...
So this is how we're going to differentiate it, Steve. I want you to describe to me how Marcus would be investigating in this scenario. For instance, Oaken really investigated from this aura, spiritual energy kind of perspective. you are going to approach investigating from what manner. So that's how we're going to set it apart. So describe how your character approaches that action.
So I think Marcus kind of gets down and pulls out kind of almost like a screwdriver or a pick type tool,
Sure.
or like a long, slender something, and is kind of like very carefully like lifting the edge of the clothes away from the wounds, kind of maybe even just slightly moving the edges of the wounds to try and see if they appear to be, because he is a bit of a, mechanical. Are they mechanical weapons? Are they claws? You know what I'm saying? Like trying to see if he can tell, was she attacked by a werewolf or was she stabbed by a person type?
Yeah, so I see this. Just go ahead and roll. Yeah. So I see this playing out kind of like, I don't know if you guys have ever seen the Sherlock Holmes, the newer one with Benedict Cumberbatch, where it's this very like analytical engagement with the thing in front of him, and it's like, oh yes, the spacing is roughly 12 centimeters apart, therefore it's likely to be blah blah blah. So it's this very like analytical, almost not even like acknowledging this is a human body type like kind of thing. Is that a fair descriptor of your character?
Somewhat. I think he's not being super analytical, but it's very much focusing in on what type of thing caused this wound.
And what I'm trying to get at is, that's goal. What I'm trying to get at is how is your character going about doing that, right? Because you're basically just saying I'm investigating. And what I want you to say is, my character puts together incense, walks around shaking it, and through the incense gets a feel of this. That is the narrative of the investigation.
No, I think he's down on one knee next to the body.
So very analytical then.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Not maybe quite as detached as you were describing as a Holmesy type, but still very much more like
scientific.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Go ahead and make a roll for me, and let's see how you do.
13. Because investigate is sharp. Yes, I got a 2 sharp, so yeah.
You have it. Oh, okay. So, you examining this, find wounds that seem very much like, almost like snake bites. Fangs seem to have bitten in and left poison residuals within the wound. But they're bigger than any snake you've ever seen before. And, actually, sorry, you're supposed to ask questions.
Well, I already kind of had, though, like what... Yeah, I'm my kind of thing, which, to paraphrase, even some of the ones that were listed, I was looking as what type of thing caused these injuries.
Sure.
Which I feel is in the lines of what sort of creature is this, or, you know what I mean?
So on a 13, though, you get to ask 2 questions. So that's just 1 question.
Okay. So... So you're saying that they appear to almost be kind of fang puncture wounds, but of spacing such that it is much greater than any snake or that we've ever encountered. Is it within the realm of this question to ask, can I fairly quickly approximate a scale of how big a snake would have to be to leave marks to give these wounds?
Sure. How big? Man, I don't want to like give myself nightmares, but like moderately.
Anaconda scale?
You, man. I said no nightmares, okay? Yes, but like mystical, magical.
Okay, so train car length snake.
You, all right?
Look, I'm trying to use mundane references here.
Something the size of the one from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Yeah, that one. I think what's more important is you get the sense that they were not... The way that the bites have happened, it doesn't seem to be a animal.
Okay. So it appears to be a machine emulating an animal.
Just to be clear, we're dealing in a world of aliens, beasts, monsters, spiritual entities, and then machines are part of that.
Okay, so when you say not an animal, you're saying not a reptile, not a
I'm
creature.
saying it's weird.
Okay.
And Eric, I'll probably come up with something better, but like that's my base thing right now.
Yep.
Technically, you get to ask one question too.
Um,
And Steve, you still have a second one.
You got something, Eric? I'm gonna think some more here.
Might I suggest a
Where
question
did it
along the
go?
lines of where? Oh no, you're supposed to have something about your divine mission, right?
oh yeah, yeah, I guess so.
But yes,
Oh.
what he said is what I was going to tell you to do.
So why did she come here? Like what led her
Ooh.
here?
So I'm going to tell you right up front, I'm being a dick with this response. Sought sanctuary.
Okay. So that means it's potentially coming. Maybe. So I'm going to turn, I'm sorry, Hagen, what's your character's name? Marvin?
Miles.
Miles. I'm going to turn to Miles and say, why would she look for sanctuary here?
Well, I mean, there's always lots of people at the bar, so you never want to go somewhere where you want to go somewhere if you're in trouble where there's going to be more people around.
Unless those are the people that you're hunting, that are
Well,
such as. But I assume that's not the case. So we should prepare that this thing may be coming, whatever it is.
Hey, Eric, this is one of those moments where I think I'm being sneaky, and I don't know if I've been too sneaky. Should I give you a meta hint, or you want to roll with this?
No, I'll roll with it.
Okay.
I get it. I think I understand, but Oaken ain't too bright.
Oh, they're a Valkyrie. What are you talking about? Unless
Never mind. I'm not so sharp. I'll put it that way.
Oh, I can take a subtle hint. All right. So we see you guys kind of standing around this body, blood seeping into the floor of the Junction Tavern. Market has one more piece of information to learn from what is in front of you, as this has cleared out the space and the sheriff is securing the tavern.
Okay. Approximately how far could I estimate she would have been able to travel in this condition to get here?
Oh, great question. Can we restate that to be where did she likely come from? Because I can say she can travel a mile, and that's not going to mean anything to you right now, because we don't have a map for you to like look at and say what's within a mile.
Basically, I'm looking for what is our search radius for where it happened.
Yes. So, looking at kind of her wounds, and I think looking at her boots, you're able to get a sense of where she may have come from. And in this area, there is a watering hole that has a lot of moisture, but there's also some deep caves that also have a lot of moisture in them. And based on the mud on her boots, she likely came from sorry, we only have 3 episodes. There is a cave system that has a lot of moisture in it, and based off the mud on her boots, that's where you believe she spent a good amount of her time before she came here. You can't tell if that's where she was attacked from or at, but you suspect she could have made it from there to here. As it's on the outskirts of town, there is some of the railroad depot material that needs to be kind of kept away from the elements or in part of the cave system. Some locals have some stuff in the cave systems.
Well, it would appear to me, based on the material on her boots, that she most likely was at the cave. So my thinking is whatever manner of something done this probably is either there or between here and there.
I just see Marcus with like a mint julep in his hand as he's speaking, swirling it.
Well, it seems our course of action is clear then, yes. We must
Well,
eradicate this thing.
we definitely at least must go find out what it is and deal with it appropriately.
And I'll
Would
turn.
appear it's some sort of snakish type thing, but of a scale I am not familiar with per se.
All the more glory when we slay it then.
Well, yes, it does not appear to be a pleasant creature.
So I'm going to turn to the 2 security guys from Wayne Industries. And you have this, yes? You're able to work with the sheriff to...
We'll take care of our fallen member. Thank you for being respectful of her body.
Can you let the others know where we've gone and ask them not to follow at this point for their own safety?
We must stay here with the body. We have no means of doing that.
If they are to return.
Of course, we can pass that along.
Then I turn to our bartender friend and say, do you have someone that can watch the bar? Your skills may be needed with this.
So our friend Norman Mason is more like a host in this space than the bartender, though often will fill in at these different locations. So nods to the head bartender and steps out, ready, putting on a backpack, ready to go.
All right. Are we ready to leave now, or do we need more preparation?
Well,
Oaken looks like he's ready to go.
Her?
She's ready to go.
I feel like we might want to stop by the shop in case y'all need anything, but I do have trusty hair inside the jacket.
I do as well, and I unsheath a little bit of my flaming sword. The flames just lick out a little bit, and I sheath it back up.
Well, I suppose we should grab a couple of lanterns at the minimum. Do believe it's nighttime, is it not?
I unsheath my sword again a little bit.
Well, yes, but
I'm good.
You know, yes, but we don't want to draw attention too much, do we? I mean, yes, people know, but there's no sense, like...
I also, I don't care about stealth.
No. It's not about stealth, my good man. It's about not attracting people following you just because you're waving a flaming sword around.
Fine.
I do understand it's very useful.
Just so everyone is aware, because I'm not from this world, I'll give you a description because I haven't done that yet. A little bit kind of along the lines of Tilda Swinton from Constantine as the Angel Gabriel. Somewhat androgynous, but female in demeanor.
The movie's actually really good so long as you're not hung up on the fact that he's not blonde.
Right. Exactly. And I have my eyes glow, kind of a light, just a glow in the light color. And then I have a very much think of a Western style suit of like what a business person would wear, kind of. But it's perfectly manicured and tailored to me.
So how long has Oaken, how long has she been in this space then? Because if she's been here for more than a week, would know that carrying a sword around that's flaming is not typical.
Right. Yeah, I've been here a little bit, probably a few months.
Okay. So enough to have a sense of what's right, but not necessarily be fully integrated into the culture. Correct.
And that's why I wasn't very overt with me kind of flashing it. It was still somewhat covert. It's I have a waistcoat and kind of tucked to the side of the waistcoat.
Gotcha. Or does it look like something else?
Might look like a pocket knife, actually, like a Bowie knife, and just kind of grows as it gets unsheathed.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Love it. So you guys get to do stuff.
If you'd like
Well,
to.
Miles, you going to join us?
I'm gonna join you. I'm committing him to that voice now.
So would I have potentially been out to these caves in my time here?
You've only been here a limited amount of time. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know that I would have had an opportunity to go out there, so I'm going to say that I have not been as of yet.
I don't feel like Marcus has particularly been there. I feel like Marcus has been in the town for quite some time, though. Probably a year or two. So he knows exactly where they are. He's just never gone out to them because, well, frankly, they don't need him out there.
Cool. And what about Miles? Do you think you've been to these caves?
What was that last bit? I had kid.
You're fine. I was just wondering if you think Miles would have explored this cave system.
Yeah, I think I probably would have because I might have been looking for somewhere for some of my experiments, and also, when you're doing things like cheese and ham, those are usually done in cellars. So, having a second location to work on some stuff, not a bad idea.
Awesome. Yeah, I like that. I also think you probably forage a little bit in these caves. I bet there's some like rare ingredients that you're able to find that you make some of your like high-end stuff. So I think because of that, I think Miles is able to lead you guys towards one of the entrances to this cave system, and there's a bunch of networking things kind of running underground. Not very claustrophobic, because I've already given myself snakes to deal with, and I'm not going to deal with claustrophobia on top of that. And so we see your group moving by torchlight through the town, snaking their way out. It's not a long walk, but we're definitely getting there a little bit later in the evening, probably 11, 12 at night. Moon hanging full in the sky. You do see a group of Wayne employees that seem to be almost mob-like standing at the entrance to this cave.
I guess if one of you guys want to talk to them, that's fine, or I can go over. I'm not particularly good at calming crowds, but I can take a shot given my rapport with them.
Well, I may appear to be good at conversation. I am not the most charming individual.
Do we not have our face? We don't have our face here tonight, do we? Oaken, you're the one who's established you have a rapport with the Wayne Enterprises, though.
All right, so I'm gonna go over there.
Perfect.
So it appears you found what we found, did you not?
Oaken, I was about to send someone to grab you. Yes, it seems that she was on patrol in this area, part of her normal work routine. Kids and stuff sneaking into this part of our storage areas.
What did you find out? I want to make sure you have the best information available to you before you go storming off and getting yourselves into something you might not be able to handle.
We just know that she was patrolling the tunnels, and we were about to go walk her beat, so to say, to see if we could try to find what jumped her. And I know you said it's not the locals, but they've already roughed up several of my other people. Why wouldn't this be them?
Do locals, do they inflict fang marks that are a few inches deep?
Fang marks? What are you talking about?
And I'll lean over to Marcus, or I'll gesture to Marcus.
Well, yes, on my investigation of your employee, I discovered that the wounds do appear to be something of, they look like those that would be left by a serpent, but quite frankly, I ain't never seen a serpent that big. And anyway, might I ask what you be storing down these tunnels here? Because just, need to know what to watch out for if need be.
I can see if I can get the manifest for this area, but this is where we tend to store our more fragile equipment, the things we want to keep out of the environment, to keep it safe from all the weather that we get around here.
So you're talking machines and the like, not, say, things for use for cutting holes in mountains and things like that.
You mean like chemicals and dynamite and
Yes,
stuff like
precisely.
that? Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we have some machines in here, but this is where we try to keep things safe. So it's going to be the more valuable, the more fragile stuff.
Uh-huh. So are there things down there that are going to go boom if they get a spark in the wrong spot?
I mean, I can't say no. I just said I had to get a manifest to confirm, but I would suspect yes. If I had to guess, I'd say there's something down there that could react explosively.
I give Oaken a look.
Now, of course, I can't tell you what to do, but my recommendation is you let us handle this, as it seems it may be more than what you expected.
Let's make a manipulate someone roll, and I'm gonna give you a +1 just because you've established that you have a rapport with these guys.
Okay. Good. That gets rid of my -1. That's a 2.
You're just racking up the experience tonight.
Yeah, I already got 3. Sigh. Once again, anything that involves dice is not for me, apparently.
Boy, gaming would be a crappy habit for you, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Well, does anybody else in the group maybe want to do something?
Because I feel like I've incited them further.
We can't just stand by. One of our colleagues was murdered.
Manipulate is a what roll again?
Charm.
Ooh, I shouldn't be the one to do it.
I shouldn't have been the one to do it either, but...
Well, I probably shouldn't either, but... Now, look here, y'all. Look. Yeah, y'all know me to make stuff, but I deal with things, too, and these fellas here, they're part of my team that does that. So how about you all just let us take a look at this, and you can stay right here on the outside in case something big and nasty comes flying out. Y'all can catch it.
I'm going to give you a +1 just for role-playing, dude. That was smooth as
So that puts me to a flat roll.
You're welcome.
I got a 9.
Technically a success. They'll do it, but only if you do something for them right now to show that you mean it.
Look, I tell you what. Y'all done seen that gadget I was demoing there at the tavern, right?
One of the people in the bar is like, yeah, it was really cool. I think it's going to be the game changer for us.
So, like, next week I should have a full-size prototype for y'all to test.
Maybe if you left the current model here with us, kind of as an act of goodwill that you'll come back and tell us what's happening, I think we could find a way to make this work.
Fair enough. He kind of pulls the model train car out of his pocket. I mean, the other half's attached to the wall at the bar, but...
and this big kind of bruiser guy takes it very delicately and looks to clearly an engineer, just oil all over their and hands it to him and is
I feel like this is about, and I don't know train car scale, but this is one of those about a 6-inch long train car.
Sure, 100%. That suddenly has a grapple that can shoot out hundreds of feet for some reason and latch onto things and pull them together. Right, so we'll set up pickets around the perimeter to make sure nothing can escape. And he starts ordering people. They kind of start getting some bonfires going at the different entrances because there's a couple entrances to the caves. So only some of them are within the fenced space of the Wayne Depot. And they have people kind of posted to keep an eye. So they're going to be able to make sure nothing is able to get out past them.
And, y'all got a couple of railway lanterns we can borrow just because it'd be easier than other things, given what you say may be down there.
Yeah, and he looks over and gestures, and they bring over, I don't actually know what kind of, I'm sure they had lights back in the day that they used around dynamite that was safer. So they bring over something that it's probably not as bright, not as luminescent. It's a softer light, but it's not going to cause things to blow up unless you really try to do something.
Seems fair.
Right.
Shall we head in?
So I have a question as far as how you want to run things in this game, I have an item on my character sheet that I feel like would be kind of bulky to just carry around, or do we do things in more of a mystic way with stuff like that?
What is the item, and how would you like it to work?
Well, it is a flamethrower, which, given that my character is kind of a tinker, I just had to check that box. But I feel like a flamethrower, well, I figure it could be kind of two ways. It could be kind of big and bulky, or I was also thinking maybe it could be like one of those old, like, garden sprayer things, not like the tank you carried around, but the one that was like a bicycle pump with a small tank under it.
Yeah.
That maybe somehow just, again, he's got this coat, right? So like he carries the shotgun in one side of it. Maybe this sprayer thing somehow hides in the other side of it, or...
Well, let me ask you this. What is aesthetically more your character? Is your character aesthetically someone who would have a flamethrower? Because you said they were going to be like a Tesla-esque kind of person.
I feel like he would definitely own one.
Okay, so,
I don't know that...
do you want it to be acid? Do you want it to be lightning? Like it doesn't have to be fire, you know. So what thing is more your character?
Do you want to shoot lightning?
Or I'm just saying, like, it doesn't have to be like a flamethrower. Like, aesthetically, what is your character? Because the flamethrower really just has like random statistics tied to it, and we can reskin that however we want, and it's gonna have the same tag, so to say. If you want it to be a flamethrower, you're more than welcome to.
I actually just I feel like in the era with the kind of inventorish concept, a flamethrower is spot on the money.
Okay, then I think probably how this works is you probably have like a little bit of a backpack, and you almost have like a bellow for a bagpipes. Right. And so that's how you're able to like pump and spray a flamethrower.
Okay, so I don't feel like this is something he would have just taken to the bar with him. So, of course, we could have stopped by and picked it up on the way.
Why wouldn't he just have it at the bar? This other guy, woman, has a flaming sword on them.
Fair enough. Well, yeah,
you
he carries
never know when you're gonna have to get into action.
He's going to carry a bag with tools and assorted stuff in it, so it's like kind of half built into that.
Sure.
That works. Okay. Not that I intend to use it, but you know what I'm saying. I just wanted to clarify that before we got too deep.
100%. Speaking of getting too deep, you guys start moving into the tunnels. And you see a bunch of branching paths in front of you. And it's this sandstone, red, earthy. You smell just kind of that earth, cave type smell. You hear water dripping in places. There's some fungi on the walls that glows periodically. Not enough to light it your way, but enough to kind of give you a sense of the layout of the space you're moving into.
How many branches we got in front of us?
Doesn't matter. Okay. So you tell me.
Should we always go right?
I always go left for some reason. But Miles is the one who has a sense of where to go. Miles,
Miles.
Which tunnel do you follow?
Are we Miles, are you frozen?
I think go right.
Cool. So a tunnel to the right curves off as other tunnels bridge and split and going up and down. And you follow along that path until you stumble upon some blood on the wall. You know you're heading in the right direction.
I will make note of that and continue on because I'm not great at figuring things out. So I'm just trying to find this thing. Anybody else want to take a look at the blood on the wall?
Well, you're a Valkyrie, right? So you're in essence an agent of death, right? So would your character not be good at examining like a battle scene?
Yes, once again, I'm not that sharp.
Okay.
Innately, yes, I would take a shot at it, but I'm better at making dead things instead of searching dead things.
You went that route. Got it. Okay. Cool. All right. So you guys are going to just keep walking?
I think, we're going to proceed kind of cautiously up the, further into the tunnel, as it were.
Cool. Since only Oaken made a comment about the blood on the wall. Why don't you make me a read a bad situation roll? Ironically, sharp again.
Okay. 6.
All right. Yeah, you feel very secure in your life choices, and this is definitely the right place that you are supposed to be going. You're marking down experience for all these failed rolls, right?
Yeah, I got 4 so far.
Cool. All right. Well, someone's gonna level up soon.
Have you passed a roll yet?
No.
So as you guys move deeper in this tunnel path, it actually ends up curving up towards kind of the top of this butte, and you actually emerge into this kind of cave on the side looking out over Junction. And in this room you find, before you enter, you pause on the threshold because you see signs of a battle.
I pull my sword out.
Is it on fire?
Always.
Okay.
So you're saying we see signs of a scuffle. I guess I should make an investigate roll then to look about the place and try and surmise some details.
So just to be clear, investigate is kind of like going around and like studying it. You don't know if this is a safe place or not.
I would suggest that you be prepared in case there's still combatants around somewhere.
Well, should I then read a bad situation as opposed to...
Well, normally you tell me what you're doing, and I tell you what role it is.
Fair.
So why don't you narrate to me what your character doing?
So I think you indicated there were signs that there had been a scuffle here.
Yeah.
So I think what Marcus is doing is kind of playing his lantern about, trying to get a better picture of what went on. And I mean, to a point, yes, if there is still something here, also would like to find that out.
Yeah, so I think that's more of read a bad situation. You're trying to get a sense of what is in this space versus trying to like figure out exactly what happened in said space.
Fair. It's the same roll, so. Whoop, wrong screen.
Cool. So what's Oaken doing?
Jeez, my dice are on fire tonight.
Then I love that you keep playing Oaken roll. So Oaken has seen a lot of battles. So what are they kind of doing as we see? You guys all chose like M names, by the way, which is really mean. But as we see Marcus kind of examining the space.
I'm trying to make sure that get a read on them and see if their souls are ready for Valhalla or not, given it was a battle scene.
Got it. What does that how does that practically, how does your character kind of see this?
So the way I see it is it kind of gives me the last moments of their death. And if they've died in a way that is honorable,
okay,
they will make it to Valhalla, like falling in battle. But if they're like doing something stupid, like they step on something that gets rid of themselves, they do not make it to Valhalla. They go to hell. So
got it. I kind of like that. What's your magic score or weird score?
0.
Bro, where are all your stats?
Tough and cool.
All right. Well, I kind of I want you to make a weird roll for me to see how much data you get. Steve, you get to ask 3 questions from read a bad situation.
Because I got 14.
No, okay. You learn everything.
So I hold 3, plus I get an additional question if I'm reading the reference sheet right. So I think the first thing is, are there any dangers we haven't noticed yet?
Yes.
What is the biggest threat?
I'm going to answer that in part once I know what Oaken's role
Got a
is.
7.
Whoa! Are you saying you were successful?
Yeah, for once.
Oh, shit! Okay. So...
No experience for you.
So, I think Oaken is kind of narrating as you're watching. and Oaken sees this group of Wayne, for better words, enforcers, and they seem to almost be dying to a combination of swords, and it's almost like something is biting and like tearing, rending them, and it's almost like this whirlwind of violence that moved through the group.
But indescript violence, like is it the idea or like personification of violence almost, rather than an actual thing?
What's cooler?
I like the personification. Like it's kind of like the smoke monster from Lost, if you've seen Lost.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. For those who maybe don't know what the word personification is, why don't you just define that real quick for everybody?
Sure. So it is the manifestations, like the becoming of something that's more of an esoteric thought or concept.
Got it.
So that's what I'm thinking of.
Perfect.
Does violence become thing?
Got it. Okay. So yeah, I mean, I totally knew what that meant. I was just making sure everyone listening to the podcast knows. Yeah. So it's this weird manifestation of, or personification of violence, and almost like fears at the same time.
So it's an interesting feeling that I get from each of these, like, and I'll describe it as I go through and give you details of how each of these people died, with graphic detail too, about, this one's heart stopped because they became so afraid of this thing that was in front of them. Other ones had their jugular ripped out. The other ones here had their innards just slashed from them and spilled on the ground. And I'll describe to you each one that is getting to Valhalla and is not, because of how they died.
And I think you even see one where, like, it seems like one of their friends stood up after being killed and shot them with a shotgun through their back. And I think that this is all describing, and I think you're correlating this, Marcus, into something.
I feel like this is like one of those flashback scenes from Boondock Saints with
Yes.
What's his name's character?
Yep. William Dafoe's character.
Yes, Willem Dafoe. I just couldn't think of the name.
Yeah, so I think the two of you are kind of like each from a different perspective, helping recreate this story that this gruesome thing that played out in front of you guys. Cool. And I believe you have one more question to ask.
So, if I could paraphrase, what is the best way to protect the victims? Since the victims are beyond protecting, what would be the best way to safeguard ourselves?
Ooh, I'm going to counter you with what's the best way to safeguard the victim is actually a really good question.
Okay, fair enough.
Take her to Sanctuary.
So what about my previous two questions?
I told you the threat is still here.
Okay. So, yes, there are dangers. Death. So I also asked, what is the biggest threat? Do I have the impression that it is a singular threat?
Yes.
All right.
But
Okay,
not
so I did get three.
necessarily to you.
Well, gentlemen, whatever it was is still here. However, I don't get the impression that it means us harm. But I'm not sure what that means. I wonder. So, I think what I would like to do... Okay, I'm going to actually, because I saw this, and it was too cool not to take. I took the Dark Past move.
Oh, I don't know what it means, but sounds awesome.
So it says, if you trawl through your memories for something relevant to the case at hand, roll plus weird.
Ooh, okay.
So I will roll plus weird, which is, also a 2. Aha, I get experience.
You failed.
I rolled a 4 with a plus 2.
Dope. Nice snake eyes then. I think Marcus probably worked for Wayne Enterprises for a little bit, but then got out from under them.
So here's the fun part of this move.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll read you the text from the sheet. On a miss,
Please.
you can ask a question anyway, but that will mean you were personally complicit in creating the situation you are now dealing with.
Whoa. Okay. All right. Let's go.
Which, given some of the other things I took, like I took the Mystic Library.
Dope.
What did you awaken?
Well, but see, this also. Oh God, this. Yeah. So I'm going to ask. When I dealt with this creature or one of its kind, what did I learn?
So I feel like you aren't. How much do you want me to make fun stuff up, or do you want me to lean into what you're doing?
I mean, so where my brain is going with this, given what it says personally complicit.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm thinking
because right now my brain has like two pathways, and I'm trying to decide which one to go with.
So where my brain is that I have, this Mystic Library.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
I was maybe messing around with a book somewhere at some point and accidentally summoned something. And I feel like this somehow ties into it not being hostile to us at the moment.
I'm going to counter you with and say your character, because you're not born at Junction, right? You've ended up at Junction.
No, I think he's much too old to have been born here.
I think your guy was a roamer when young, and found yourself in the embrace of the goddess of the crossroads. And she is the one who provided you with the start to your mythic library and put you on a path to Junction. And as your mind wanders to that memory, you realize that the carnage you see in front of you was rendered by her.
Oh my lord.
What was your relationship with Hecate? Hecate? Romantic, friend, tutor, pupil?
I think he encountered her manifesting as like a wise woman. So she was more of a mentor in that context.
Yeah. So I think that she guided you to become her agent in things within Junction's Progress Junction. And that's why you joined or helped re-establish the greater good society.
Yes, well, gentlemen, it does appear there is something very not good going on, because I know who did this.
Oh.
And as... Go ahead.
This was none other than Hecate herself, the goddess of the crossroads. So someone has done mightily pissed off that woman.
And as you say that, you hear a coughing sound deeper in the cave in shadows that you cannot quite see through.
I'll head that way.
I'll follow along.
And you walk around a stalagmite and find her up against a wall. She has kind of like a cow-like snake thing, but its head's been blown off of a shotgun blast. She's bleeding from a wound in her side. Mouth has blood coming out of it. Her weapons are clearly been used in combat, but she's kind of got herself wedged up, and there's two more dead Wayne Enterprise people at her feet. And you can see that she's trying to do like first aid on herself and has a poultice type thing. And then she's like packing it in, and as soon as you walk around the corner, you see she springs up, staring at you, anger in her eyes, fear, and magic starts manifesting in her hands.
Now, hold on.
What? No, Marcus.
Yes.
What's going on? What?
Well, that's what because look, I know you have your tendencies, but what's gotten you riled up like this?
They came to kill me. They ambushed me. Evil is coming. You must take me to Sanctuary. It's our only chance. and with that, she blacks out in front of you. And we'll end here for tonight.
Ooh, nice cliffhanger.
Hey, you know what we get to do at the end of the session, guys?
Get experience by sharing stuff.
All right. At the end of each session, did we conclude the current mystery? No. Did we save someone from certain death or worse?
I feel like we saved those Wayne Enterprise people from going into the thing, and they probably would have died.
I was also going to let you argue that you save Hecate as well.
Yeah.
Did you?
I was actually
Go ahead.
thinking more Hecate than the other Wayne people, but yeah.
What we're saying is we did a Hecate a good job.
Yes. Do you know that? I heard my friend told me this. I never actually verified it, but in the metric system, you know how it goes like kilo, giga, tera. They were talking about adding a hella as one of the prefixes for like way out there for 10 to like the 30th power or something. So a hella gig. But did we learn something new and important about the world?
I
think so.
Yeah. Steve's character started all this.
And
It's Steve's fault. That's what we learned.
And we got to find the sanctuary.
So the other, I mean, you probably know that the sanctuary is the tavern.
Yeah.
But I also want to acknowledge, so when Steve's like, what's this background that could be? The other one is that you helped start Wayne Enterprises, like, mythical research division, and then they got, like, evil about it, and you got out. And so, like, you know that they're, like, hunting, collecting, reaping, you know, some of these travelers, and that's why they have such a big presence in town, and that's what was happening here. So I was like, ooh, either of these are going to be fun to play with. But did we learn something new and important about one of the hunters?
I guess that's probably more
I'm friends with a god?
Pretty much. Did we learn something new and important about the world? I mean, that's kind of, I feel like, yes. But I mean, that's because we did all the exposition. So if it's the yes is 2, that's only 1 XP. If the yeses are 3, that's 2 XP. So do you guys feel like you learned something new and important about the world?
I don't think we learned anything like... Yes, we had exposition, but it was more establishing what the world was than discovering something.
Sure. I think, yeah, and I feel like the things that we did learn about the world were more about your backstory, Steve, so I would agree with that. So I'd say that's only 2 yeses, so everyone gets 1 XP.
Huzzah, I get a thing.
Intro and outro music by the band 12 Noon. You can email us at meandsteverpg@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter and RPGs. Find us on Facebook at Me and Steve RPG Podcast, on Discord at Me and Steve RPGs, and as always, all of these links are in the show notes. Thank you, and be kind to one another.
How much for the cigar?
Cigar, $20, dog. You gotta go down the street to the store and buy that.
Yeah, my apologies if I was weirding you out on the reptile stuff.
No, you're good. I was mostly joking. I do hate snakes. I do have a phobia of snakes, but I was good with your descriptors. But I was like, hey, man, we're good. And you're like, what if it was even bigger, though? And I was like, hey, man, I said we're good. And you're like, but train car size, though, guys. Like, train car size.
Well, see, you have to. I don't like snakes, but for me, it's specifically snakes between about 3 and 6 feet that I don't like. Once they get bigger than, say, that 6-7 foot range, then they're fascinating again. And if they're little, they're not so bad. But that 3 to 7 foot range, they kind of wig me out.
Death ropes, bro. They all bad. Cool.
Call them nope ropes.